I thoroughly enjoy answering questions you guys have for me. So we're going to do a Q&A somewhere down the line. And if you have some questions for me, get them in the comments below. But for today, I'm going to answer what is the most popular question I get asked, just to get it out of the way, apart from what's happening with the V10 MX-5. If you want to watch that video, the link to it is up there. I'm going to answer how I became a presenter on the DriveTribe YouTube channel. I just fell in love with this car. To answer that question, let's go right back to how I got into cars. And I imagine, like a lot of you guys out there, it was initially through my dad. He's a chartered accountant, but in his spare time, he restores classic cars. And since I was the age of 3, the family classic has been an MGC GT, 1968 or 69. So from a very early age, cars were in the family, and Dad took me to car shows. We even went to the 2000 British Grand Prix, which was epic. All of those events that essentially immersed me in the world of classic cars. But there was one NEC show where there was something called Sporting Bears. They're a charity and they're still going now. Basically, you turn up, you pay a fee, and then an owner of a performance car will take you out for a spin for 20 minutes around the NEC. I turned up that year and sitting, that was quite new at the time, a manual V8 R8. Now I'd recently just got into Top Gear at that point and was like, wow, it's not just classic cars, it's actually a huge car world with some serious performance machines. And that is one that I've seen Jeremy Clarkson driving. I want to have a go in that. So my dad kindly paid the fee. I went off with this guy for 20 minutes and it blew my mind. I could not believe a car could be that quick. I was used to classic cars, and I think my dad had a Jaguar X-Type at the time. This Audi R8 I thought was, this must be the fastest car in the world. So suddenly I was recalibrated, and that's kind of what I wanted to do. So I go through school as the kind of car guy, and it comes to picking a course for university, and I pick mechanical engineering. I go to Heriot-Watt University, which is in Edinburgh as well, and I started studying a 5-year course of mechanical engineering. Somewhere on a shelf at home, there's a sheet of paper that says I am a Master of Mechanical Engineering. It was a 5-year course. But midway through that course, in my 3rd year, I had a pretty nasty breakup. And I just thought to myself, how do I become as happy as possible? What will make me the happiest chap? And it was simply driving fast cars. Now, how do you do that at the age of, 21? How do you transition into that? And I saw there was 3 ways: racing driver, kind of industry test driver, or automotive journalist. Now, for that first one, I hadn't been karting since I was 5 years old, and my family didn't have millions and millions of pounds, so I wasn't going to be a racing driver. To be an industry test driver, you either need to be an ex-racing driver, or you need to have been an engineer in the industry for long enough that you kind of transition into that role and you have those expertise. So that wasn't going to happen anytime soon. The third one though, I quite enjoyed creative writing at school. I was okay at English, and I now had this kind of technical background. I kind of, just through content, learned a lot about cars, and then through my engineering course, I learned the real technical stuff, the first principles about how a lot of the stuff on cars works. So I thought, okay, I'm going to have a crack at that. I'm going to start writing technical articles about cars. So what I did was I started a WordPress blog. It's called Gasket Case, a student car blogger. It probably still exists somewhere on the internet. And I started writing about cars to then create that base so I could then send it around and hopefully get a job somewhere after my course. So I started writing about my Rover 25, my first car. But luckily, a lot of my friends had dads that had really cool cars. So I basically started working through them and writing articles about it. I'd get insured for a day, which was very expensive considering I was 21 at the time. And I started driving cooler and cooler cars. So I did an article about a Porsche Boxster and then a Aston Martin DB9, tried to get on a Bentley, couldn't get insured. But then Porsche Edinburgh started lending me cars. They were very, very nice there. I think the guy was called Marcus. Marcus, shout out if you're still at Porsche Edinburgh. So that was Boxster S, Cayman, 911, really started sort of working my way up. And the articles on my blog were just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Over my first and second year at uni, I'd done engineering internships. It's kind of the thing you did. During summer, you got in with an engineering company and you established yourself there, and that could potentially lead to a job at the end of your degree. So I did that first couple of years, but then in the third year, I thought, right, I'm going to send basically my sort of automotive CV out there and see what I can get. So I sent it to all the big titles: Auto Express, Autocar, Evo, that's the one I really wanted. And then there were these other chaps called Car Throttle. They were the sort of up and coming, they were the sort of young, exciting startup in the car media world that was kind of shaking things up. They had this great YouTube channel. So that was a big one for me. And thankfully I got accepted by Auto Express and Car Throttle somewhere in some MSN email inbox, which is probably full of viruses by now. There's an acceptance email from Alex Gerson, Auto Alex, allowing me to come for a summer internship at Car Throttle. So you could say he kind of gave me my big break. So thank you, Alex. So I went down to London in that summer and did Auto Express and Car Throttle. Now, Auto Express is, you know, a legendary magazine, but also like very, very old school. But when I actually think about who was in that office, there were some big names kicking about there. I remember sitting, and just over to my left, there was Matt Watson. He was car buyer and Auto Express YouTube at the time. Just off to my right, there was Jack Ricks. He's one of the main guys on the Top Gear YouTube channel now. And then James Batchelor was just over for me. He was big on the Auto Express channel, now does batch reviews. So I wouldn't quite say it was a who's who, but there was some big names in there. So I went from Auto Express, and then literally the next week transitioned over to Car Throttle, and what a difference. Just the environment in the office, from like old school magazine to young and exciting internet car startup. It was really cool. And you know, the guys in that office, you've got Adnan, who was the founder, and Gabor alongside him. And then you had Alex, who I think was editor-in-chief. I think that was his role at the time. You had Ethan, who was kind of head of video. That was pre Edwin, Will, and Jack. So the TDC lads and the kind of other half of all the gear. I don't think they'd quite turned up yet. But there was also John Markar, who does the Driven Chat podcast. He'd just come from Gumball. So it was, yeah, a really great office of guys, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. So I was there writing technical articles, using my sort of creative writing I learned from school and that technical side from my degree, and writing articles about how stuff on cars worked. So aerodynamics, cooling, engines, suspension, traction control, all these different things. And the Car Throttle audience really liked them. The articles performed well. What was great about Car Throttle is it was kind of just based on numbers. If your articles were doing well, Car Throttle wanted more of them to put out on Facebook and get more and more eyes onto the Car Throttle site. What was really cool is some of those articles then got translated straight into video scripts, and Alex did sort of voiceover videos on Car Throttle using my articles. I think the one with the most views is about how the Mark II MX-5 is better than the Mark I MX-5, because the MX-5 was kind of the Car Throttle car at the time. So I left London, went back to university, and what was really cool is basically when I immediately got back to finish my 4th and 5th year, I got a message from Matt Robinson at Car Throttle. He was the editorial guy, and yeah, I see him as my sort of automotive journalism dad, to be honest. And he offered me some freelance work. He said, "Do you want to send us articles down while you're finishing your course and get them published on Car Throttle and get paid to do so?" I couldn't believe it. You know, I was living the dream in that summer with them, and now suddenly they wanted to pay me money to do it. It was absolutely mind-blowing. So I then kind of became that guy in 4th and 5th year at uni who should have been contributing to group projects to finish off my course, but was really in a corner writing articles about the R35 GTR and how cool it is. So sorry to those fellow students that I definitely pissed off quite a few times, but somehow I got through. I ended up with a 2-1 in mechanical engineering. I think it was right on the edge, but 2-1 to 2-1, got my degree. But just before the end of my course, I'm then faced with this decision. I need to actually have a job. My dad said to me, it's not ideal to come straight out of university and just try and freelance. You kind of need that base to be a fully successful freelancer, and I didn't have it. I kind of just had Car Throttle. So he said, ask for a job. So that's what I did. I asked Car Throttle, I asked Matt, do you have space for a full-time job? Now, Car Throttle was a London startup that was constantly evolving, going through different financial situations, and at that point they couldn't take me on. They couldn't physically take me on as a full-time guy. They would happily keep me as a freelancer, but I wouldn't be able to just move down there and go full-time. So that was kind of sad, and I thought, right, I'm gonna have to apply elsewhere. But then the dream job popped up. Content editor at Evo magazine. Now, when I was growing up, kind of from late school into university, Evo magazine was the place. And my kind of hero from there, and I still think he's right at the top now, was Henry Catchpole. He was and is still the man, in my opinion. So I wanted to work at Evo because that's where Henry Catchpole was. I'd sift through the magazines to find his articles because I absolutely loved the way he wrote. And then his videos were also just the best stuff on the internet to me. People were loving Chris Harris then. That was kind of his heyday. For me, it was Henry Catchpole. If that's popped up now, let's go for that and see what happens. So I apply and I get an interview. Very, very excited. Go down to London to the same office that I had that internship in because Evo and Auto Express were owned by Dennis Publishing. And I chat with Stephen Walker. He's still at Auto Express now, and it goes really well. I show examples of what I would do if I was the content editor there. It goes really well, and I get offered a job. I say a job. I interviewed for Evo. And Evo, it was always like the really, really cool performance cars, retro and modern. Auto Express was much more everything from like VW ups to Veyrons, but you know, probably that kind of consumer end of the market. I got offered the content editor job at Auto Express. They kind of switched it over, and someone else, and I actually know who it was, he got the Evo job. But at that time, I was like, okay, that's a shame, but maybe I can get in there, establish myself at Auto Express, and then potentially pivot over to Evo because they're under the same umbrella. That's the plan. Let's go do that. So I accept the job. I'm then 2 weeks out from starting at Auto Express, and I could literally take you to the laptop screen at Heriot-Watt University in Edinburgh. I could take you right to the room and sit me down when I got a Twitter DM from this complete randomer. Turned out he was the head of content at some place called DriveTribe. Now, I'd seen DriveTribe on my social media, and I was like, what is this thing? It wasn't fully clear. It was Clarkson, Hammond and May, which had that heft behind it, but it wasn't fully clear what it was. Join the tribe, like, what is that? Some people have got early bird access. I wasn't one of them. And suddenly I've got this DM, and it was like, okay, let's chat to this guy. Let's see what it's all about. Also, since then, they'd swiped Henry Catchpole. They'd swiped a few people from Evo magazine. Jethro Bovingdon was another one. So suddenly, my kind of like automotive hero had gone from Evo to this place called DriveTribe, and I was now getting DM'd by them. What's going on here? So I sit and have a chat with the DriveTribe guys and have a little interview, and basically it turns out it was going to be this massive car social media platform that needed content, and they looked around the industry, saw Car Throttle and really liked what they were doing editorially, so much so that they thought, right, well, let's just offer them all jobs. As far as I'm aware, pretty much all the content team at Car Throttle got offered a job at DriveTribe. Now, of course, they were seen as a sort of rival, so they were quite patriotic towards Car Throttle, so all of the guys stayed and said, no, we're okay, thanks. I didn't get the job there. I was going to join Auto Express, but I thought, well, actually, that's Clarkson, Hammond and May. I'll take it. So I went for it. And, you know, London startup, it was actually substantially more starting money than at Auto Express. So I went two-footed into it and started as a writer at DriveTribe. To summarise, 2014 was when I started my blog, 2015, the summer of, was when I did my internships, and then 2016 and sort of early 17 was when I was freelancing, sending those articles that were published on Car Throttle. I was then starting at DriveTribe. I started in April 2017, so straight out of uni, went down to London and started as a journalist at DriveTribe. And it was this amazing place, this office in King's Cross, literally attached to the station. Huge office, I think there was 50, 60 employees, big money, big startup, Clarkson, Hammond and May. It was awesome. you know, I expected to go down and there'd be an office and there'd be Jethro and Henry that were there. It would have been so cool to just mingle with them and see what they were all about and just chat about their careers. It would have been awesome. Turns out the first couple of weeks I was there, they were away shooting for the DriveTribe YouTube channel because they kind of kicked that whole thing off. And then by the time they came back, as startups do, the sort of business had pivoted, financially things had changed, and suddenly I actually saw Henry basically leave the DriveTribe office, came in for a meeting and left, and that was that. So suddenly I joined the place where my sort of automotive hero was, and then he suddenly left. But, you know, I cracked on. It was still an awesome place to be. Jeremy would pop into the office every so often. It was just absolutely mind-blowing, to be honest. But I was very much a writer. I was doing what I did at Car Throttle. So I was writing for the DriveTribe platform in my own tribe. And it was called DriveTribe in Detail. And I would write these engineering articles about cars. The audience enjoyed it. It was going really awesome. But we had this YouTube channel that started with Catchpole, Bovingdon, Vicky Parrott. It was huge production videos. If you go right back to the start of the DriveTribe channel, some of the videos on there are beefy, like big productions. But again, the business pivoted and suddenly that channel just went dormant. I think it was dormant for about a year and a half. Then comes 2019, and that is the year that I see the car YouTube space in the UK really starting to commercialize. There was talks about what we're going to do with this YouTube channel. Now, what had gone on there was like really heavily sponsored stuff, basically adverts, and the audience, having gone from some of that really nice editorial, was now looking at this stuff being like, is this DriveTribe now? This is not great. So I stuck my hand up and I was like, I would like to give this a go. Can I do some just like organic, non-sponsored videos about just some cool car stuff and see how it goes? And I got given the go-ahead, and that's what started. I kind of transitioned my tribe, and those videos were called DriveTribe in Detail. My first video on the DriveTribe YouTube channel was me in the Jaguar XJR9. It was kind of a hell of a start, really. The Le Mans winner from 1988. I did a walk around, like an engineering walk around of that car. Now, it's painful to watch now because I'm trying to be Catchpole in it. I'm trying to be like really smooth and softly spoken, but that's just not me. So yeah, that was my first video, and I did a few of those. Did 4 or 5 of those DriveTribe in Details. I thoroughly enjoyed doing them, and at the time they got okay views enough that the sort of upper management was like, okay, well, the audience seems to think these are all right, like, let's keep going. So I kind of just built it up from there. I just got kind of plonked in, really, to I think it was 220,000 subscribers who were like, okay, don't know who this random balding Scottish guy is, but he seems okay, let's give him a chance, sort of thing. So I started creating my early DriveTribe content, but then very soon after that, James May picked up on the fact that the YouTube channel was back going, and that's when what I would call the James May era started on DriveTribe. James at the time, I think, was the most social media savvy out of the 3 guys, and he saw the opportunity to create basically the car content that he just wanted to make. He didn't need it signed off by Amazon or any other production house. DriveTribe kind of was his, and he could just do it. So myself and Lucy Brown took that on, and the DriveTribe channel kind of became James' content and my content, kind of almost like one for one in between each other. And that was a really cool era. You've obviously got this like titan of car media, and then I'm literally just learning on the job, kind of a baptism of fire. Like, I had no presenting experience at all, and I was just doing the best I could. But I'm really proud of some of those early videos. The James May era happens. He's like suddenly like all over car internet. But then DriveTribe, the platform, the social media platform, folds. It's decided that this huge social experiment where we try and take on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube in cars, it just hasn't worked, because really cars are a niche. Like, yes, there's 5 billion cars, I think, on the planet, but to be into cars is actually a tiny percentage of that. So yeah, just the sheer numbers didn't work out, and the actual DriveTribe platform that had all the money pumped into it just folded. But Richard Hammond, then saw an opportunity, because just before then we started to do the kind of marketing content for his Smallest Cog show, Richard Hammond's Workshop. I imagine a lot of you guys will have seen that content. We started doing YouTube videos with Richard following that early era of the Smallest Cog and posting them on the DriveTribe YouTube channel, sending people, you know, classic sort of link in description to go and check out the TV show. Richard was then faced with DriveTribe going under fully, but he saw the success of his show kind of off the back of those DriveTribe videos. So he looked at a spreadsheet, saw a green line on it that was the YouTube channel in amongst all the red, and thought there could be a business in that. Richard then decided to essentially buy out the other two, and he became the boss. He bought the DriveTribe brand, and, you know, luckily, thank you to him for doing that, the YouTube channel then just kept going. It was quite a smooth transition from what I would call the James May era into the Richard Hammond era, which you could kind of argue is still happening right now. And we just pushed on with Richard and made DriveTribe kind of now what it is, that the channel that's sort of fully commercialized, and that then evolved into the events we're now doing, and there's plenty more about to kick off as well. But it's been a really, really cool journey. But then the need came to just expand the team. You know, I was under a hell of a lot of pressure to keep that upload schedule going. I think we were only one a week then, but still, that was quite intense. So that's when we brought on Ben Collins. He started as a guest on our videos, but we've just been doing more and more with him, and now he's a kind of fully established member of the DriveTribe presenting team. Then we added in Izzy Hammond. Again, we started with just a couple of videos just to see how it would go, and now fully fledged presenter. So we haven't done it yet, but it would be great to have a video with all four of us now as the sort of DriveTribe team. And I think, to be honest, we'll keep adding presenters just to farm things out and spread out the kind of pressure of that upload schedule and get as many faces on the channel as possible. I think what's cool about the DriveTribe channel is it is a space to kind of collab on as well. We've been doing stuff like our cog score videos where we get other YouTubers on, so it suddenly becomes this sort of hub. I think, to summarize basically how I've got to where I am now, I think there was definitely a bit of right place, right time. But when that opportunity presents itself, you have to have put in the hard work to then be teed up to take that opportunity. So the kind of right place, right time definitely has that luck element in it, but then you need to be in that space and have your chest out and have stuff to prove that you can then grab that opportunity and take it to wherever you're willing to go with it. That's kind of what happened there. DriveTribe came along at a time where I happened to be just leaving university and needing a job, and I happened to put in that work with Car Throttle that then had my name sitting there on the website. It's quite easy to just say, oh, I'm incredibly lucky to be where I am. There's definitely luck involved, but there's also a hell of a lot of hard work, as I say, to just grab that opportunity when it presents itself. So I'm asked quite often, what advice would you give to kind of get into a similar position that I've been in? And I think it's that. I think it's committing to a content line, or just committing to establishing work that you can show people, and then just, I don't want to say sitting and waiting for that opportunity, but just constantly iterating yourself and pushing yourself so that when the opportunity does inevitably come, it might come in a short space of time, it might take quite a while, but when it comes up, you're there ready to grab it, and you've got all the facilities you need to absolutely nail it. That would be my advice for any of you younger guys looking to get into this industry. We will do a proper Q&A where you guys can ask me any question you like. So get your questions in the comments below. I'll read through them, get them in a document, and I will answer them in a future video. So thank you for watching this. I hope it was somewhat educational, somewhat insightful. I'll see you again in another more DriveTribe video.